Before you dive into the wonderful world of sewing your first project, there are some fabric questions you might have, and there are some fabric things that you should understand. So this section of the membership is all about fabric basics. And when I say basics, I mean really the basic things you need to know, the essentials before you start sewing. And you may have heard some fabric terms before, things like synthetic fabric, polyester, cotton. If you are new to sewing, you might know some of those, or you might not. You may also have heard things like grain line and bias, which I'm not going to dive deep into this lesson. There is an entire lesson about grain line, and I want to urge you to watch it. But first, let's get down to the basics. So right here, I've got a lovely pile of different kinds of fabrics. And if you are new, or even if you have been sewing for a while, you may be asking, how on earth do I figure out what fabric to use, where to use it, what it's called? Is it the right fabric for the project? The first thing you need to know is your sewing pattern determines your fabric choice. So sewing pattern will give you suggestions for fabric, and you should always base your fabric decision off of the suggested fabrics. Now, I'm not saying you always have to use the only fabric suggested by the pattern. There are alternatives, and there are ways to know which ones to choose, and there are trainings on those. But first, let's get down to the two groups of fabric that you need to know. So first, all fabric is made up of fiber, and there are two groups of fiber. There's natural and synthetic. Natural is cotton, rayon. There are lists. There's a list you can download, so you don't need to remember this all at once. Just know that you get natural fabrics and then you get synthetic fabric. Then inside those two groups of fabrics, natural and synthetic, you get woven fabric. That means fabric that does not stretch, and you get stretch fabric. So you get natural stretch fabric and synthetic stretch fabric, just like you get natural woven fabric and synthetic woven fabric. So first, let me show you around the two different types of fabric, so synthetic and natural. And don't think just because a fabric is synthetic, it's bad. Synthetic fabric also has benefits. Natural fabric also has benefits. It depends on the purpose you're using the fabric for. So sometimes you do want a synthetic fabric because of the benefits that fabric holds. So let's start first with a few natural fabrics. And here I've actually got a kid's burp cloth, which is made out of toweling, which is natural. And on the back, it has a quilting cotton. And automatically you can think of a burp cloth, it needs to be absorbent. So there's one of the benefits of natural fibers is they're absorbent. Not only are they absorbent, they're breathable too. So there's one example, a toweling. Of course, you get synthetic toweling as well, but this is a natural cotton toweling. Then over here, I have a cotton, a thicker cotton, a kind of a canvas, and this is a woven fabric. You can see it does not stretch, but this is a natural fabric. And then I have one that's quite popular, is viscose or rayon challis, and that is, although it is a man-made fiber, it's still a natural fabric. So it's made out of plant fibers, and as you can see, it's very, very wrinkly, which is one of the drawbacks of natural fabrics, is that they wrinkle a lot, where synthetic fibers, synthetic fabrics tend not to wrinkle as much. But still a lovely, light, breathable fabric, and a very popular one for clothing. So that's just a very quick overview of some natural fibers, natural fabrics. And over here I have two polyester fabrics, two synthetic fibers. This is a poly cotton, so it is mixed with a natural fiber with a cotton, but you can see it's unraveling much more, as is this piece of satin. Look at the satin, is just, now it won't unravel, of course. There we go, look at that. So synthetic fibers tend to unravel like crazy, and not always, but most of them do. And then of course you can imagine that this satin is not very breathable. It's quite a hot, insulating fabric, which doesn't make it bad. There are times we want to be insulated. There are times we want to use a polyester fabric, and things just off the top of my head, benefits of polyester fabrics is they don't wrinkle as much. You can see this is slightly wrinkled, but it's really nowhere near as wrinkled as this one over here. So they don't wrinkle as much. They are very color fast. They don't fade as easily. The colors really stick in there, especially if you have print fabric. Print, knit, polyester knits, they last really long. They tend not to fade as much, and they just last much longer. So in these two groups, both of these are woven fabrics. So I've got my natural woven fabrics over here, and then I've got my synthetic woven fabrics. Then, of course, we have knit fabric. We call it knit fabric because that is the method used to create the fabric. It's knitted together. It's not woven together. So you can see in this example, you can see that this fabric has been woven and it unravels quite a lot. It can unravel. There it goes. Look at that. But the knit fabric does not unravel because it's been knitted together and it gives it a stretch. So again, in terms of knit, you get natural fibers and synthetic fibers. This is a natural fiber knit. This is a cotton lycra. And the word lycra or spandex is just denotes that it is very stretchy. So Lycra is actually the brand name. I think I don't want to get this the wrong way around. And spandex is the fiber that's, or the content that is used in the fabric to make it stretchy. So as soon as you hear the word spandex, you know it's going to be very stretchy. And knit fabric stretches either in one direction or both. And depending on the pattern, you might see something like 4-way stretch or 2-way stretch. Always double check your pattern instructions because sometimes 2-way stretch means it stretches in all directions, and sometimes 4-way stretch is used to denote stretching in all directions. Then, of course, aside from it being a stretch fabric, you also get a synthetic and then a natural one. And the natural stretch fabrics tend to feel harder, almost dry. If I had to explain what it feels like, it feels harder. Think of a t-shirt. It feels harder. And then synthetic, this is a brushed D2Y or double brushed poly. It's a polyester stretch fabric and it's very, very soft, but it is not breathable. So this will be a warmer fabric, which is great for winter clothing. Also, because it is a polyester fabric, it's very color fast, so it holds its color well, it holds its print well. If you get one with a beautiful print on, it won't fade as much as a cotton lycra will fade. Cotton lycra, again, is absorbent, it's breathable, so it's great for summer clothing, it's great for underwear, anything that's against the skin that needs to be able to breathe. That's a good idea to have a natural knit fabric. And then, of course, another polyester knit fabric that is quite popular is fleece, either polar fleece or you also get cotton fleece, which is a natural fleece, but it's also a stretch fabric. And this one you can see only stretches side to side. It doesn't stretch up and down like that. It only stretches, so this would be a 2-way stretch or a 1-way stretch. It could also be called a 1-way stretch. And there you have it. Those are the fabric basics, the two groups of fabric, knit and woven, and then the content of the fabric, which is either natural or polyester.